Welcome to After the Shoot podcast. I'm Season and I'm here with
Grace.
We just had an amazing shoot and I'm just here to talk about, some of the things that we actually had conversations about during the shoot and, just the experience of a shoot as a whole. So, welcome. So, my first question to you is going to be, I know you just got into the modeling scene. I just want you, as someone who's newer to modeling, to kind of explain what your experience is like just beginning in this field.
Yeah, I think that modeling and photography in general is a really interesting industry because you really only see the finished product. And when that happens, you don't realize all of the work that goes into getting what is essentially one image sometimes. Mm-hmm. So that's been really interesting to me to see all the different elements, just like during our shoot, constantly seeing you adjust the lights and adjust you pose just as much as I pose on the ground, standing up, squatting.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I didn't realize before I had started doing it, just how much work it is for every party involved.
Yeah. Okay, so we had a conversation more so about, I guess the experience of shooting, and we talked about basically how the experience is just as important as the finished product. So I just want to ask the question to you, when you're shooting with a brand new photographer, what is the main thing, that makes that experience of shooting stand out?
I think with any interaction, I want to walk away feeling like I got to know you better. Because if we're having an experience together, there should be some form of connection. There should be some conversation. There should be something that takes place that if I pass you on the street, I should be able to say hi. I should be able to ask you how you're doing. I should be able to know something about you that a stranger who's never met you cannot, doesn't know. So for me, when it comes to having that experience, it's important for me to be part of something bigger than myself. And by connecting with whoever I'm shooting with, that is a tangible way to ensure that happens.
Right. So what is, in general, saying you want to make sure you have a connection with the people that you're creating art with, just relative to that, what does art mean to you? What does creating mean to you, and how has it helped you within just your life in general?
Yeah, so I work in marketing, and I have more of a research background, but creativity is always something that's very important to me. I like to write. I'm not great at anything else artistic, but I think it's so healing to me. It's something that it always leaves you better than it finds you. I feel it's so cathartic. And so for me, this is a tangible way to do that. And I'm sure you feel the same way, that when you're creating, if you feel it's an extension of yourself, but it's also kind of it reveals yourself as well, and it validates yourself.
Yeah, I feel for me, it's I never knew I was gonna be in this field because, I never would have thought that I would be somebody in the background of the creative process, because I started off being an artist. I don't know if you know that. I actually made music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I made music before I was so used to being front and center and being completely in control of my creative process and everything like that. But I feel being a photographer, the main thing that I've learned is, the process is just as much your experience and your artistic vision as it is the models or the people that you're creating with. So I had to learn to sort of understand that and come to terms with the fact that each person that you interact with is important. You can't really go off and create with somebody and really think oh, this is just another shoot. It has to be an experience, because if it's not, you disconnect yourself from it altogether. I've even found myself in places where it's I've created with people, and it's I don't want to even get to the point where I'm editing it, because it's I didn't have an experience, a solid experience doing it, and I didn't really connect to it.
And you don't see yourself in it.
I don't see myself in it, and it's crazy, because it's you think you would think that every shoot that you do is something that you just want to go and get done, but you got to think about it we're also, no matter what field you work in, we're we're not robots, you know,
Yeah.
like we're humans. So it's like you want to be connected to what you do no matter what. But yeah,
Can I ask, how do you find yourself dealing with burnout? Because I think creativity is such an interesting field because burnout looks different than any other industry. I read this thing and it talked about how someone's dad, they had posted it on like Tumblr, and I have reposted it as well, that the periods that they're not creating are called dreaming periods because you're absorbing like inspiration and beauty from around you, and that's still like part of the creative process. So for you, because I feel like, I mean, there's not like a work-life balance with like a creative industry. It's all work and it's all life.
Yeah.
So how do you find yourself like when you're not in that like mood to create, to like, how do you go on from that? I
feel like personally, I am okay with taking breaks. Like, I feel like if I'm forcing myself to create, it's not authentic.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to make sure like I either like see someone who inspires me, or I have an idea that inspires me that makes me want to get out and create. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if you're I've been in that state where it's like I'm just creating just to create, just to push out content, and just to do something, you know, and you'll begin to learn that when you're not doing it for the right reasons, and you're not doing it because you're inspired, it starts to drain you, you know what I mean? So I think that's what burnout really comes from, because if you're always inspired when you create, burnout's not a real thing, because like you're getting up because you want to get up, you're creating because you want to create and you want to see a finished product. But I just feel like with burnout, it's just I'm okay with taking breaks. That's really it. I'm okay. But how do you deal with it? Do you ever feel like you get burnout?
I feel like I get burnout, but I think it's more so because I'm obsessive about things. Like if I want something, then I will no sleep. Like it completely like consumes me, and that's something that I feel like I put out my best work that way though, because it's like you said, when you do something, you want to see yourself in that, and when I feel like I'm motivated by something, the product is like my whole self, because that's what I put into it. So that's why when it comes to like burnout, I don't have the healthiest relationship with it, because at the end of it, it's like, oh, I have this thing, but what did it cost me? And that's why it's interesting that you say that, and I'm always like asking people who I feel like, because you're always putting out content, that's why I asked, you're always doing work, so I'm like, because you see someone's like output sometimes, you're like, how are they doing that? And have it still be like something that you enjoy. I
think a lot of people don't understand I always put out work, but my work comes in spurts. It's like I'll have like weeks or even to a month where it's like I'm working, like I'm shooting, I'm inspired. Ooh, I have this idea, I have that idea, and I'm just getting it. And the best part about being a photographer is like I can execute on those ideas and like put them out into the world still. Like there's a difference between, you know, when an idea strikes you and when you put an idea out into the world. Like you
put your execution time,
and you put your piece of work into the world for other people to see. Like I can do a art piece or like do a shoot that's like 3 months ago and put it out today. So it's like I've learned to kind of like I can take that step back if when I create, I'm creating and I'm pushing and I'm inspired and I'm I'm delivering on those all those ideas that are coming into my head. So yeah,
that's true, that there's like that gap between like when you do it and when you share it with the world.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm very good with that. I'm very good with, the execution process. But another question that I have. So you just recently moved to Chicago. I want to just ask you, as someone new to Chicago, because I've been here my whole life.
Really?
I know everything Chicago, in and out, even though I'm a suburb kid. I say I'm from Chicago. But,
I love that you had to add the disclaimer.
I have to add that because like some people will see it and they'll be like, you're not from Chicago, you're from the suburbs. But yeah, I'm a suburban kid, but I just say Chicago because, you come here, and even when I said earlier, I was like, I'm from Joliet. You're like, what's Joliet? It's like, no, I just say Chicago because that's what people relate to. But being someone new to Chicago, I just want to ask you, how do you feel about the Chicago creative scene?
So the biggest thing about Chicago is it's just so much bigger than any place that I've been before. And it's interesting because, so I lived in Indianapolis before this, and I was a little bit involved in the creative scene there, mostly was just with friends, less so hands-on. And I love that creativity is like so unique to like the geographical location. It's so shaped by that, but the community part of it kind of looks exactly the same. Like I think creatives are one of the few groups of people who are completely connected by something very intrinsic. Like it's why it's so easy for creatives to come together and want to create, because that's what drives them, and it's such a collaborative thing, especially in like spaces like this. And that's exactly what it looks like in any other space, because I think that's something that creatives have in common. What's different here just is, I think, the diversity. And that's been something that's been really exciting for me, because I was raised in a really, really small town in Indiana. Like if you go to the website, I'm from Middlebury, Indiana. If you go to the website, it says, "Welcome to Middlebury, aka Amish country." The cornfields. I was one of the only people who were not like white at my high school in my graduating class. And then I went to Purdue, which is also, it's a bigger school, but it's not known for its diversity. And then Indianapolis, it felt so diverse. And then here, there's so much diversity, and it's so exciting to be a part of something where like people like look like me, if that makes sense.
No,
to see yourself and to get that perspective of like someone who looks like you and sees beauty and like you, because they see beauty and like themselves and people who look like them and who share like traits like melanin and like just like features that you don't get to see ever. And at least since where I grew up, that's been really like validating for me, and especially having people like you like reach out and to be a part of that. Like, oh, like this is not any form of like visibility that I have ever seen like growing up until now, and now I get to be a part of it.
Right.
So I love that about
dope.
Chicago.
That's dope. I personally love the Chicago scene. I think when you're in it, you either love it or hate it. But me personally, I see the value in it, and that's why I do some of the things that I do, because it's like.
Oh yeah, we were talking about like community events, and I think community is like, it's so important, and like and you create opportunities for that to take place.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel it's necessary, because like if you don't care about your community, just as much as you care about the art that you're creating, what are you doing? Like, it's like you can either be that person that's trying to do this for the reasons you want to see yourself thrive. You want to see what you do like take off. You want to make money. You want to do that. And obviously, as a person doing anything, you want to see yourself succeed. But it's like, what is succeeding if there's no community in what you do? If all the models and the photographers dropped off the face of the earth, you know what I mean? You have nothing, So it's like, you want that. And it's such a field where you want to be inspired, So why hate on the next photographer as a model? Why hate on the next model? Like it's not like you and them can't succeed in this, and that's the problem I feel like with this industry is a lot of people here. It's either you're one way or you're the other. You're big on community, you're big on supporting each other, or you're just kind of in your own bubble and you're okay with like seeing success on social media but not really connecting in real life. You know what I mean?
There's vanity metrics and like clout and stuff that really it lives and dies exactly online. Yeah,
it does. And I see it so much. Like you'll see like even going out, like you'll meet with people and it's like, they're successful from a social aspect, like, oh my God, their reels are getting this many plays, their posts are getting this many likes, and then you meet them on person and they're not really connecting with people in real life. And what's the point of all of that?
Well, I always think about that because I work in marketing, so I very much like push like, because there are people who have millions of followers and then when they try and sell like a t-shirt, they can't sell 20. So those followers don't like they don't equate to like conversions. And to me that's like those followers, if you look in the social context, it's like awesome, you have all these followers, but if you get sick one day and you need to go to the doctor, do you have anyone you can call? And I feel like there's like this loneliness I think that can exist on social media, and there's also this community that can take place. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum where you found a way to use social media as an extension of community that already exists. But I think the other end of the spectrum exists as well, and it's something that when you're on this end of the spectrum, I feel like you don't really believe it exists until you encounter that in like real life, and you're like, oh, people are really like like into like that number versus like the connection versus like the experience and stuff like that. And that's a little bit I don't know. I think I'm still getting used to that.
Yeah, I think it connects to a word. I've had this word in my bio a long time, and I actually learned it from Brent Baez, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
I learned it because he has a collective, and it's called Sonder. And it's like, what it basically means is it's like the realization that each person is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. Which means like, it's like when you're walking on the street, you got to realize that this person that you see, they're living a life just like you. Or when I'm doing a shoot with you, I got to realize that you're living a life that's different from mine, and that you have your own issues, you have your own things that you go through, your own goals, your own things that make you happy. And it's like, it's a real strong word to me, because it's like, it helps you connect to the world more, you know? And that's why I'm big on community, because it's like, I see these people who they may not want the same thing, but we all have the same goal, which is to be happy, which is to succeed, which is, you know, to thrive in whatever we do. And it's like, I see that in these people, and I just want to do my best to be able to connect to every single person that I work with, you know? That's just my goal. That's just who I am, you know?
I love that,
Yeah, for sure. So let me think, what else do I have? I know I got something else in the chamber. I was thinking about something that we were talking about earlier, but I cannot bring it to my head. So I'm gonna pick you for this. This is what I'm gonna pick you for, because I've never, since doing photography, and I've been doing photography since last December.
Okay. Oh, really? It seems like it's been way longer.
Nah, it has not been that long. I know it seems long because I was creative directing a lot before. But basically, I want to ask you this question. I haven't had a model critique me before.
Okay.
So I just want to know, what is your experience like personally? Since this is after the shoot, what is your experience like personally shooting with me?
I think you make yourself very accessible. So to me, that's a positive experience already, because I know that it was important. I can just tell that it was, by how you treated me, that it was important that to you that I have a positive experience. And like I said, I haven't been doing this that long, so it takes me a little bit of time to like get past like the awkwardness, and I want like guidance and stuff like that, and I want it to be done in like a way where you're not like inconvenienced by me, you know? That's something that I'm very, rooted in like insecurity, I think, just in general and stuff. But have that be greeted, and you're very gentle, I think. And I think that is very, I don't know, in a space like, in anything like this, like we said, it's very intimate. Photography is very intimate. It expedites this process of like trust, you know, and kind of like vulnerability. And you make that feel very like safe. And like you had even said, like, if you have any ideas, like try them. And I think that that's very telling of like giving someone room to like mess up, as opposed to like pushing this like need for perfection. One of my favorite quotes is, and now that I don't have to be perfect, I can be good. And so I think that patience allows for, okay, let me be awkward in this moment so that we can create something great after that moment passes. And so that's I haven't had anyone tell me like during a shoot before, like, oh, just if you want to try anything, and like it's okay if it's bad or whatever, it's okay, it's okay if you feel silly and stuff, and it gets you kind of like out of your own head, because it's like, oh, this is exactly what I was thinking. And so I'm like, and you feel so seen, you feel so understood, that you're like, okay, that I can be vulnerable and I can do this, and it kind of, like I said, it loosens you up a little bit, and I need that.
Nice, thank you. That makes me feel good, because I'm glad that you feel like comfortable when you're shooting, and you feel like you can be yourself and everything. That's really what I strive for as a photographer. I think you know, sometimes creativity is so misunderstood, and that's why I approach, you know, shooting the way that I do. It's because it's like, I feel like personally, a lot of the times people don't make room to, you know, let people make mistakes, and it's all about making mistakes to learn from them. You know, if you never make the mistakes, and if you never try new things, you know, you never get new results. So it's like, I'm very open to like, you know, creating in a space where it doesn't feel like we have to be, you know, perfect, because you know, beauty comes from imperfection. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you may make a mistake that you didn't even mean to do, and it might turn into one of the best shots that you've ever had. You know, you may try something that you thought you'd never try, and it may turn into like one of your favorite moments. You know what I mean? And something that you end up taking with you forever. Like, oh my God, like I just like did this and I never thought that I could do this, and I figured out like I look good doing
Yeah.
this, you know? So it's like that's all creativity is about. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're good on this. We had a great shoot. I
Yes.
can't wait for everyone to see what we put
I'm so
out. It was
excited.
super nice shooting with you. It was super nice having this conversation with you. And this is just the first of many episodes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.